So hi guys, Jonathan Graham here for Guitar Interactive Magazine. We have the pleasure of sitting with the guys from Opeth today, Michael and Fredrik. How are you guys doing today?
Good. It was an early start.
Very good.
4 a.m.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're happy to be here.
Now, just before we started, now obviously we're here to talk about this incredible new record that you guys have got coming out in October, which is fantastic, by the way. It's amazing to hear some new stuff from you. But just before we started rolling, we were talking a little bit about guitar, and I just wanted to share with the guys that, because Michael, you really are you're too modest when it comes to the guitar playing. You know, you're always sort of putting yourself down. Fredrik, talk a little bit about this. Why is this guy always dumbing down his guitar playing?
I don't know. It's a trick or something. Unnecessary trick. You know, he's a mind-blowing guitarist, as far as I'm considered, and many more, of course, apparently. And, you know, it's just fantastic to be playing with this fella.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I played with the band a bit more than 17 years now.
Of course.
And I do got to say I learned a lot from Michael. He has a very unique style of writing and unique style of playing.
What would
Give
you
me the money now.
What would you say is the most important thing that you've learned from Fredrik in the band?
Well, he does show me things, but I have a short attention span.
Yeah.
I don't have I don't have the grit to learn things. Besides, he can play it, so that's great.
Sure.
You know, it's like I write most of the music, but most of the time, if there's something that I find difficult that I wrote, find difficult to play, I was like, you play it. So it's great to have that. So now Fredrik is taking more and more space in the, especially lead guitar department. I'd love play leads every now and then, especially if it's slow and easy, like the Whitesnake song. Slow, calm leads, that's my, so to speak, strength, if I'm going to say something positive about my playing. But most of the time it's like there's a solo coming up, that's Fredrik's department. Of
course, yeah, you guys work to your strengths, that's for sure. Now,
I would like to add, we've done a few duels or trade-off leads in the past, and I really enjoy it.
Of course.
And I try to encourage Mike, let's put a bit more of that, you know.
Yeah.
But you do play a lot of leads, and you have your signature, this more calm leads, but you can play the heavy leads as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, on The Last Will and Testament, which is the new album that's going to be dropping in October, longest period between albums. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the world since then, but what were some of the main reasons that you guys took so much time to get this one made?
Well, I mean, the pandemic, inevitable to mention the pandemic. I mean, we were on tour. We were kind of like 2 tours in, and we had like a total of 5 or 6 tours.
Yeah.
Those tours that we couldn't do got postponed as opposed to cancelled. So we had to do those tours eventually. So once all the borders opened up again in the world, we went on tour, continuing the tour for the last record. And then I got a gig to write music for a TV series called Clark, about a Swedish criminal. Fredrik went on to he played with Ghost on their record. The other guys in the band Mendes had White Stones, his side project. Joachim had his solo record that he's working on.
Sure.
And spending time with family, those kind of things. I didn't really have plans to start writing until the whole touring side of the last album was completely finished. I don't want a single show in the schedule if I'm going to start writing. It has to be completely empty, otherwise I'll stress about that show. So that's basically it. And of course, then it took, 6 or 7 months to write this album, to record it, and now here we are. I know it's a long time, but if you break it down, we've been constantly active, doing, like we haven't been sitting on our asses just.
And of course not, but it's also a return to the concept album sort of structure. First time in 25 years you've done that. Did the story sort of come first and then that drove the music, or was it from the outset you thought, I'd quite like to return to this type of concept for a record?
Yeah, it was kind of simultaneously in a way. I was thinking of the lyrics, but generally I write the music first. So I wanted to see if it, like the idea, whatever I had musically, if that was going to work, if the vocals are going to sound good, because I'm doing the screams.
Of course.
If that's going to fit with music I'm writing now, so to speak, and luckily it did. But of course, I was thinking of the lyrics for these. Like generally I don't, again, like because you said I'm putting myself down, I don't consider myself a good lyric writer. I don't consider myself a good anything, but I love doing all of the above, so to speak. So there, like I didn't want to do an instrumental record, so there had to be some lyrics. And what am I like gonna write a song about Putin? No, like I'm gonna write like something else.
Yeah.
And I like to have concepts make it easier for me to, because if I finish one song about the war, what's the next song I'm going to be about? What do I care about?
Yeah.
You know? I'm not like I don't write about contemporary society that often, although I did on the last album a little bit. So it makes it easier for me as a lyric writer to have a story.
Yeah.
So I got interested in the whole family splitting apart, and mainly due to an inheritance, like a brother has a younger brother, and somebody they end up in a fight over money or over things, and all of a sudden blood is not thicker than water. I find it fascinating, and I wrote a song on the last album that kind of touched upon that subject, which I felt it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of a never-ending topic, you know. And I have to give credit to the TV series Succession, which I love, which is about a Murdoch type of media mogul, like, and his children kind of rise to the top, taking over after him. So that became like, okay, I could do something with that, you know. So I kind of sketched the outlines of the story. I got a lot of help from my girlfriend, who helped me come up. She came up with a twist of the story, so to speak. But once I had the outlines and once the music was, so to speak, working, I was on my way.
Absolutely.
Pretty much, and just I did demo lyrics, which are shit, usually. I mean, just bad, grammatically and everything is just bad.
Yeah.
But at least I got a rhythm and I got a melody for the vocal, and then I just simply wrote the lyrics and tried to fit in these new lyrics for the concept with the vocal lines and the rhythms I already had from the demo. So I was lucky, I guess.
Absolutely, no, it worked out amazing. Fredrik, some incredible guitar playing going on there, some killer solos.
Indeed.
That outro solo that closes the album, I mean, it just puts a bow on the whole record. Of course, just talk a little bit about your approach to crafting solos, because it always feels like you've always got something to say when you're playing, and it's quite a difficult balance to find that when, you know, someone's technical as well as being musical with their playing. So how do you walk that line?
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, this time around, usually when Michael demos the songs, I've been popping down to the studio and just improvised, like we did on the Incauda, for instance. Usually we do a couple of takes and I'm just throwing myself off the cliff and see what happened, kind of thing. Like on Incauda, there was a couple of songs that you really have to pay attention to what chords you play on top of. You couldn't just go for it. So I remember I wrote down like the chord chart, and then just E, F sharp, and just went for it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyhow, this time around it was different. Mike sent me the first track, which was paragraph number 7.
Didn't I just send you the snippet of the solo?
Of all these solos for the new album, I did it in my home studio.
Yeah.
And I worked on it quite a lot. So it wasn't like the previous album where I more improvised it. So I could put more time into it, which I really wanted on the last album as well. But then I think you said, well, this is great, keep it. And I was happy with it, those as well. But this time around, I paid more afterthought to him.
Absolutely. Do you remember anything sort of when you were first learning to play that was just the ultimate challenge for you, that you overcame a riff or a solo section that you just felt that was a unreachable goal, but you got there in the end?
Yeah, on the new album, especially song number 5.
Right.
Because that solo section is really tricky, and you have to involve different modes, and it's also creative if you can experiment with different modes, like different colors. And that solo it's like a little happy Indian guy popping up a couple of places, and then you have this more melodic guy, so it's kind of a bit schizophrenic, but that particular background to solo on, or the riffs, the part, was tricky to, the goal is to always try to do something new.
Of course.
And I felt I found some new stuff on this album that I haven't done before. And like the last track, I think I went, because since it's a ballad and it's closing the album, I was happy to do like a longer, more mellow, sentimental type of solo. And my inspiration for it was basically a cross between Richard Blackmore and David Gilmour kind of approach.
You can hear all of that for sure, but still have all your individual characteristics in there. It's a fine line to walk, but you do it so well. Do you find that the plans for the shows that are coming up, because obviously you guys have announced some European shows as well, could you play the album in its entirety on these shows, do you think?
Well, we have talked about it, but I don't think we'll do that now.
No.
Well, but yeah. Maybe you want to say.
Maybe for an anniversary or something.
I mean, I got that. Like we started doing some press for the record now, so we have both received that question. I think. And I think the answer now would, like Fredrik said, would be no. I think that's something that we might consider in the future if there's like some type of demand. But these songs, I mean, when I write music, I don't write them for 5 people. Performing them live on stage. I write it without thinking if it's like 50 people, doesn't matter. Like if it's good, it stays, so to speak. So some of these songs, especially song 5, because it has a string section. Well, many songs have a string section, but it's particularly there on the song 5, paragraph 5. So besides, I don't. We've done those shows where we play the whole album. I don't like it. I think it's dull. I think it puts stress on me. You're supposed to deliver the record in the same order as people have listened to this record for, in some cases, like 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And to be honest, I don't really like going to shows where they play the band, whatever, play the whole album.
Yeah.
My integrity as a songwriter, so to speak, it kind of stops after the record is done. When we're on stage, I consider us as David Lee Roth entertainers, if you know what I mean. You want people to leave having heard their favorite song or stuff like that. Yeah. So it's not like an artistic expression from stage, in my case.
Of course.
It's just make people happy and have a set that works, that we play well. I've thought about those things. We done Blackwater Park in its entirety. We done Ghost Reveries in entirety. Damnation. I never liked it. I find it boring.
Interesting. Well, just talking about things that make you happy, Mr. Ian Anderson, that bucket list is complete. Just talk about how that came together, because you've been wanting to make this happen for years.
Yeah.
I think there was an email went out. You never got a response.
Yeah, into the ether.
So tell us the story.
Well, the story is that we were doing the Heritage record, so that's almost 15 years ago. And there's a song on there called Famine that for some reason I figured, it would be great with a flute solo. And I quickly wrote down a list of my favorite flute players from the rock world. Yeah. There aren't that many. I mean, there's Thijs van Leer from Focus. Okay. He was on the list. Ian was on the list, top of the list. A Swedish guy called Björn Jison Lind. Okay. He's the one who ended up playing on the record. And another guy called, who was in a band called Solar Plexus in Sweden, fusion proper, called Carl-Axel Dominic. So I can't remember if I sent an email to him, but he was on the list anyways. So Ian got the email, or I sent the email. I'm not sure if he got it, but I never got a response. And in retrospect, we were lucky because we got Björn Jison Lind instead. He worked with ABBA, like arranger for ABBA and like
incredible, yeah,
a prominent like fusion jazz pianist and flutist in Sweden. This was his last recording because he passed. So and he did a great job.
Yeah, he nailed it on the very first take. He warmed up, walking up to the mic, which we kept on the album, and then he just did one take.
Amazing.
Yeah, what he did the take. He did a take and we are used to doing multiple takes. And he did a take, came out into the monitor studio room, and he goes, "I'm done." I'm like, yes, you're done. Okay, yeah, you're done. And it was amazing, you know, just one of these old school guys. Anyways, throughout the years since that recording, I every now and then brought this up if the question occurred about Ian not responding. And I think one of these interviews ended up in somebody from, I think, James from Jethro Tull Management saw a particular interview where I said something along, fuck Ian, he didn't, fuck that guy, you know, that type of thing. He didn't respond, you know, kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I'll never say that.
How many salmon farm?
Exactly,
Yeah.
which he's not doing anymore, I think. But he saw this interview, and I got an email from Jethro Tull Management. Ian would love to play with you. Just drop us a line whenever. And I was like, interesting. And this was maybe 2 years ago or something like that. And along comes this record, and I early on wanted narration on it. And because I'm such a massive Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull fan, I go on like YouTube and I watch interviews with him. And his speaking voice is like, that's the one.
Yeah.
And his persona, he could play the part of the so-called patriarch. So that's what I asked him. Would you be interested in doing some narration? And he got back like, I don't think I got that. That's an unusual request. Maybe I got it over the years once before, and I said no or something like that. So, and he said yes, which surprised me. And I sent him the guiding speech that he's going to do, and he sent back his version, which blew my mind. To this day, I can't believe it.
It's incredible. It just, you know, enhances the record so much. Any chance that, I mean, we know he doesn't do that much these days, but is there any chance that in any of these performances you do, he may make an appearance?
I mean, that's one thing that they said as well. I mean management and him. I eventually was emailing with Ian himself. And I think it was also him that asked, do you need some flute for the solo? And I was like, I didn't have a part at the time. But I kind of shuffled through the songs quickly in my head, and before he changed his mind, like, yes, we do need a flute. So we played on paragraph 4, some flute. And as we were in touch, emailing, he said like, you know, Ian, you know, he would be open to play live with you, you know, on occasion. So you never know. I mean, it's one of those things that if it happens, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But to me, you have to understand, he's like God. You know.
It was mind blowing for me to do a solo after his solo.
Yeah.
Well, it's a riff in between, but more or less.
Added pressure there.
And I did this solo before I knew he's going to play a flute solo.
Yeah, of course.
Whoa!
And what for you, Frederick? Obviously, there with Michael, that's a bucket list collaboration. If there was somebody that you could add to an Opeth record and work with in the future, who'd it be?
Oh, I think Ian is fantastic for the future. Well, it's many.
Ingvar.
Well, maybe not, but he's great. But like, as a guitar player or anybody?
Just anyone at all.
Whoa.
Alive or dead?
Oh, how about both? Give me one that's past and one that's still alive.
Well, Richie Blackmore. But then...
See, that's similar though. Someone is a bit of a recluse these days. Bring them back out. You know. Maybe
you could play like a acoustic solo or something. Well, you're very good at that though. But something. A dead person. I would say Ron James Dio.
Incredible. Yeah. Good.
The only problem The only problem with those two guys is that
They
they're
will put
going.
us in shame.
Yeah, they put us to shame.
You've got
You
to-
don't want someone too good, of course. Like I can't play the flute, so he
Sure.
can outshine us. Of course, that's
Perhaps you
fine.
should pick a saxophone player instead of
So,
something
yeah.
like that.
John Coltrane shows up. Yeah.
I like it. Michael, what is your memory of the show at the Cave just outside Stockholm back in February of '91, which was apparently the very first.
The cave, was that called the cave?
Apparently, it's the Cave. Yeah. There's a lot of dispute online, but a picture has surfaced that shows the drummer and shows you. About half of you in a T-shirt. I think you were just doing guitar duties on the night. But there's also stories
The first show we
of
ever
the very
did.
first show.
Yeah, I was dying from nervousness. You know, I had been on the stage playing Beatles covers, actually. But yeah, it was the first time on a stage with, so to speak, my band, which at the time was the singer's band. Really, really nervous. We played, it felt like a huge room, but it was probably like, I don't know, 400 capacity, and it was half empty. We played with Therion from Sweden, and a band called Excruciate, and another band called can't remember, some other band. Shit, I can't remember. No, but it was a horrible show. It's the worst show you could ever, like, if you're in the band, you're shaming yourself for the rest of your life. That was the feeling, and the crowd hated it. There's no like nothing positive apart from us popping the cherry, so to speak. There's nothing positive. We played like shit. Somebody stole the microphone from the singer in the crowd, so he was like, at one point he wasn't even on stage. He was chasing around the guy in the room trying to get the microphone back. They throw snus at us, and the next day was another death metal show in Stockholm, which I was attending, and I was still in shame, standing in line to go into this show, and these guys standing in front of me said like, "Did you see that band Opeth yesterday?" "Yeah, I did. They were fucking awful."
Just to wrap things up, I know you guys. You know, you get so much with the new release and all the plans and what have you. But Ghost Reveries next year, it's going to be 20th anniversary of that album. You know, very special for you guys. Obviously, can you just reflect a little bit on the process of putting that together? And could we see any sort of anniversary sort of celebrations of that release?
No, since we talked about this before, there's not going to be, like, we played that album in its entirety once.
We did it here in London at this theater. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was playing.
Yeah, they was playing Cats.
Yeah, what's the name of the theater? I can't remember.
Something.
Palladium, maybe. I
Yeah,
think it was the
we-
Palladium.
No, it wasn't the
No,
Palladium,
no.
because we were gonna be in the Palladium, but Ghost kind of pushed us out.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And as not in a Ghost, the band Ghost,
Of course.
our friends.
Yeah.
I think they played. We were in some theater. I can't remember what it was called, but it wasn't. Like I said, I don't enjoy doing those things, so I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, since we already done it, and that was 15 years
Yeah, yeah.
anniversary, I guess it would be more appropriate to do some other album, if we have to do something like
Absolutely. And UK shows, we haven't seen anything announced, but you planning on getting back to the UK soon?
that. Yeah.
Didn't we announce we're playing like
We are announced.
Roundhouse?
Oh,
We're
you're in the
doing
Roundhouse. Oh, fantastic.
February.
I'd only seen the European dates. I didn't even. Yeah.
Roundhouse and
Perfect.
Bristol and
I think it's 4 or 5 of them.
Birmingham.
Brilliant.
Birmingham, and it's going to be in Manchester, I think.
Well, make sure we have all the dates down in the
And,
description. That's for
yeah,
sure.
in February.
Perfect. That's going to be amazing. Well, look, congratulations on the new record. It was great seeing you guys today, and
Likewise.
I'll catch you when you're back in town. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.